Are we recording? Good. Alright, fix. This is behind. I need to think these through before I start recording. How the hell did you get up there? But the Transformers. That's something I review, right? Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. It wasn't a perfect film by any means, but I still had an amazing time watching it. It had interesting characterizations for classic characters, and it brought back the bombastic action scenes that we know Transformers for. Oh god, I'm having flashbacks. But unfortunately, due to a decently large cast, some characters didn't get their time to shine. And I think I have the biggest culprit of that problem right here. Rhinox, as non-existent of a character as he was in the film, is the complete opposite in hand. That furrowed frown, that gaunt gaze. They give off a stoicism I wish we got to see in the movie. But it never really gave us a chance to sit and just stare at the designs. They were moving the whole time. But again, in hand, he looks chic. Do people even use that word anymore? The shimmering silvers, the brutish bronze, and the garish grays all come together into what would usually be a very bland and boring color scheme, but he just rocks it. Although there are a few areas I kind of wish were painted a bit more, and honestly, he's in a dire need of a blackwash. I wasn't even looking at the camera during that clip. I'm stupid. I think the reason that I think this color scheme fits Rhinox so well is simply because rhinos are gray in real life, so it's like a little suspension of disbelief / grounding in reality at the same time that blends together to... It works, I guess. I don't know. It just works for Rhinox here. One thing that I love about the newer design philosophy that started with Bumblebee is that the designs are unique and different from the original designs, but you're still able to tell who they are. You know, except Battletrap, but he was barely a character to begin with, so he doesn't really count. And he looks great paired up with Cheetor, who, if you couldn't tell, I spruced up a bit with a paint job based off the Yellow Park AMK Cheetor. You know, how he should have looked in the first place. And also, for a Voyager, he's a beefy lad. While not much taller than his classmates, he is very wide. And also pretty thick as well. Not only is he thick visually, but he feels thick. Wait a minute.
Ha! Gay!
Rhinox here is very dense. Like, you can feel the weight in him. He feels way heavier. Well, can't say that anymore because the layers of paint I put on him. When I first got him, I actually thought he was taller than most Voyagers, simply because of just how big he is. That's how much of a presence this figure gives off, but I didn't realize I was wrong until I started recording comparison shots. The reason why he's so dense is because of all the plastic layered on top of each other. His abs are layered over his chest, which is layered over the core of the robot. It's a lot of layers of plastic. And that's thick feeling plastic too. Like, this does not feel cheap at all. Speaking of class, the modern class system. I still hear complaints about it, and as somebody who only started collecting earlier this year, I love it. Now, I grew up with those old movie leaders and those old, like, big, monstrous toys, but I would much rather pay that amount for a better figure rather than something that has lights and sounds. Maybe it's just because I got boring as I grew older, who knows. And I absolutely love modern leader class. I own 6, and only one of them makes me want to reduce a Venezuelan village to ash. Sheer chunk factor isn't the only thing this figure excels at. His posing is really good. He has sexy swivels that satisfies all, and he has bold bends that hold their position. Though he isn't without his flaws. His head is difficult to access, making him look around a bit of a pain. And his brick of an ab section, while it looks great, in certain poses kinda looks awkward. Makes him feel like he's not comfortable in his own skin. And his hammer only has one grip spot, and it's near the top of the hammer, which looks stupid. but I did do a quick fix where I just put masking tape there and it basically stops at the hand. Now it looks a lot better. And these tight joints that I praised mere moments ago actually have a downside when it comes to his shoulders. The tabs keeping his shoulders in place don't do a good enough job, and so you can be moving his arm around, and I mean, it gives you access to a backwards butterfly joint, which is good, but it's a bit annoying when you're just trying to rotate his shoulder and it pops out of its socket like a 5-year-old's.
Don't ask me how I know that.
I think I rattled on about Rocket Raccoon's robot mode here just a tad too long, so let's get to his other robot mode. And Rhinox's Robo Rhino mode is fantabulous. Yeah, it's just a brick on legs, but that's what rhinos are in real life, aren't they? His transformation was simple, even though that footage didn't seem like it. I'm just very tired. Don't judge me. But it is really simple, but really intuitive. It does a lot of things I didn't expect. I love the little hand flip around like gimmick. I love that. That's one of the major things that got me excited for that Studio Series Optimus Primal. I'm so getting that eventually. And I also love the fact that you can give him little hooves in robot mode. It holds together very well, though I do wish the back legs transformed just a little bit more, but it's serviceable. And that's what I would say about the posing on this figure. It's serviceable. It's not the greatest here in robot mode, but it works. If you want to get him into a running pose, you can get him into a running pose. It just won't look 100% the best. Something else that's not 100% the best is this little hole down here, which I thought would drive me insane, but honestly, I barely noticed it until I flipped him upside down, which, why are you flipping a rhino upside down? Also, I'm so glad his bottom jaw isn't bronze like those old CGI renders were. It would have looked really bad. One thing I neglected to mention in robot mode, because I wanted to talk about it here, is the rough skin texture that they have for the Rhino mode. That mixed with all the mechanical detail really shows how it's organic yet mechanic, which is like the whole point of the Beast Wars characters. Most of his bronze hides away when he goes into Rhino mode, which is a really cool way to show the difference between robot mode and Rhino mode, to show the organic from the mechanic. But that does leave his Rhino mode looking a bit blander than his robot mode, which was already bland, but at the same time, once again, real rhinos are gray. So, I would say he's a little bit more boring in this mode, but he's an animal. If you want to have an exciting, cool experience, switch him to robot mode. Overall, this figure is really solid, and I highly recommend it if you want to have something that isn't 15 billion steps and makes you want to curb stomp a toddler. I will definitely be giving him like a silver and greenish dry brushing just to give him a little more life, you know? Once again, great figure. 8 out of 10.